大怪盗アルセーヌ・ルパンが残した不思議な宝物ルパンコレクションがギャングラーに奪われた。失ったものを取り戻すために戦う怪盗、世界の平和を守るために戦う警察、君はどっちを応援する？
Hello and welcome to LupinRecap vs. PatReview, the podcast that's stirring up a storm. I am your host, Lokamasi. With me is my co-host, Fefner Masamune.
Hello, it's me, Fefner. We're back.
Finally, after 10,000 years, we've returned. Oh, that's a little on the nose, isn't it?
No, it's perfect. You did the perfect rap. I was just going to reference the DK rap personally, but yours is better. It's fitting.
After 10,000 years, we're here performing for you. If you want to conquer Earth, you can join in too.
Put your hands together if you want to make the monster of the week grow.
I'm going to stop this before we get too far into it. Thankfully, our little pre-show discussion question is easy because we already said it was going to be 5 episodes ago.
Yes, we're ranking the characters again.
I think it's important to show just how dynamic these characters and the show is by looking at them every 5 episodes. And something tells me we're not going to have the same list 2 times in a row.
Oh, absolutely not. I'm looking at mine right now, and I know it's different.
I'm making a prediction for the entirety of the show.
Oh, yeah.
I'll go first again because, mine's fairly simple to get through. I can finally put Umika first, where she belongs.
Mm-hmm.
Because we finally got her episode. Keiichiro jumps all the way up to second for me, mainly because of what he does in this episode.
Mm-hmm.
But also just from how he's been growing and acting as a character.
Yep.
Third becomes Kairi. Again, mostly because that's stuff that happens in this episode, but also the last episode. He's developing into a very sad character that I like. Unfortunately, Tsukasa dropped, I think she dropped to around 4th. I know she's 4th, and I think that's down from where I had her last time. And nothing, bad. Nothing bad on her part. It's just she's not had the same sort of focus that everyone else has had. And yes, 5th is Toma.
Oh my god, our lists are the fucking same. I will give my reasons after you're done, but god damn it.
Yeah, I'm just kind of going through mine because I think might have really simple reasons. I haven't thought about it too much. Yeah, 5th is Toma because, like Tsukasa, he hasn't had a whole lot of episodes focusing on him. And he's so quiet, it's kind of hard to really get behind him when he's barely a part of the show.
Yep.
And then 6th is Sakuya, unfortunately. I do like Sakuya, but this past batch of episodes was not kind to him.
No. I was surprised that he was, I think, 6th on our first ranking, because, at the time he was actually, he hadn't had his whole shtick yet, and he'd had some good episodes.
Yeah, he is an interesting character that I like, that is worth watching, but it's I can't imagine anyone going below Sakuya from this point on.
Yes.
Maybe I'll be wrong, but I feel at this point you have to do something to get below Sakuya, and I don't think anyone else is going to do something.
Yeah, so Sakuya was ranked first for me last time because not a lot of characters had a lot of development, and I liked him because, he was super earnest. I liked the way he interacted, and I thought he made for some pretty good early episodes. He wasn't overly incompetent, he just screwed up a few times, and I felt that was interesting on his part, but now, yeah, his whole crush on Umika isn't awful, it's just kind of grating.
Mm-hmm.
It feels a little by numbers in a way.
Much like an obnoxious one-sided crush in real life, even if it's not threatening, you just want him to shut up.
Yeah, exactly. It was a thing I was kind of hoping would be dropped quickly, and it hasn't really. At all. Though, Umika's managed to use said crush to her advantage, like in her own episode, and as we'll see today. And then, yeah, Tuma, pretty much the same reason as you. I still think his actor's really good, but he hasn't had any, major episodes, so...
Mm-hmm.
We know...
Honestly, I think his actor might be the best of the bunch. That's just because I have to rely so much on body language and facial expressions, both of which he is really, really good at.
He gets some good ones in this episode, which is why I didn't want to put him at 5th, but at the same time, yeah, we know his trauma, but we don't know much after that.
Yeah, he started out as one of the more interesting ones because we found his backstory so quickly, and then everyone else's backstory is more interesting.
Yep. And yeah, Tsukasa is pretty much the middle because she's there. I like her. She's... like, she is the Pat Ranger version of Tuma because she's more or less the oldest and most mature of the group. Except, unlike Tuma, where because of his trauma he's not, she does actually keep her shit together pretty well. Which means that she hasn't had much in the way of plot, but she's grounded, and I appreciate that. Kairi is third because he's been getting some good development recently.
Surprising turnaround from episode 6, where I was certain you were going to put him dead last.
I mean, sort of. Like, he's had problems, but in a way that I recognize are going to be fixed.
Or at least recognized as problems by the show.
Yes. Like, he's the main character, so, like, even though they have the whole Lupin Ranger, Pat Ranger dynamic, the Lupin Rangers are still more the main characters, and as the leader, Kairi is pretty much the main character, even if the cast is a little more ensemble. So he probably has the most he needs to develop. So I think he starts the lowest of all characters, and it's just gonna take a while for him to sort of improve, which I think in itself will be interesting, considering, especially since you've said that he's your favorite character. I think it's going to be an interesting path overall, but yeah, at the time, episode 6, that was his low moment.
Yeah. Honestly, I feel bad because I would say that at some point all the characters have been my favorite character, but I can't say that because of Sakia.
Dang.
And it's not even anything against Sakia. Like, I don't think the writers made him a terrible character. I just can't say he's my favorite because he has this huge glaring flaw I can never get over.
Yep. So yeah, that's Kairi. Kaishiro, same reason as you. He's been fantastic the last few episodes, and he's got such good moments in this one.
Yeah, we're starting to see the protector of civilians, Kaishiro. We saw that in episode 6, but now it's becoming more... Or it's not just, like, in the battlefield, I'm a soldier protecting those who can't. It's also... He also shows, like, I want to help people who are troubled.
Yeah, you
all
seem like
sorts.
you're having a bad time. How can I help?
Do you want this coffee at 10 o'clock at night?
You're so depressed you look like you could use it. But yeah, unlike real cops, Kaitro is actually really good. And of course, yeah, Umika's number 1 because... like, she's been fantastic overall. She's, what's the word? She's really upbeat in the fight. She's one of the more interesting, dynamic characters in battle. And yeah, her own episode was just really good.
Yeah.
She's really clever, even though Kairi sort of treats her in a bit of a childish manner at times. She does come up with really good ideas. And again, she knows how to use Sakia. It sounds a little rude when I say it like that.
Yeah. And I think the other members of the team do respect her. They're just, like, catty siblings and refuse to admit it.
Yeah, that's just how Kairi acts. That's just him. And
this is not Toma acts.
Yeah, Tuma is Tuma.
Well, that was much easier this go around.
Yeah, I just sort of had to explain how I think Kairi works, even though I, for some reason, haven't put that much thought into it.
So I mentioned off the air, I think it's important for podcast hosts to more or less be on the same page.
Mm-hmm.
In that, like, if, say, I hated the show and you liked it, the show would become intolerable because it would just be the two of us shouting at each other, and whoever was the louder and more insistent would come across as winning, regardless of how well we actually explained our opinions. Because I've seen that happen in podcasts. But I didn't expect us to be this in sync.
God damn it.
I didn't know we were going to be drift compatible.
I mean, Sakia was kind of a shoo-in for 6 for me this time around. Again, because of the crush thing.
And Dumiko was a shoo-in for 1. We knew our 6th and 1st.
God, I thought Kairi would have been higher for you.
No, I like Keiichiro more for now.
Yep. So, anyway, I guess that's it for now. So, time for the actual recap part for episode 10. It's not over yet.
Snake?
It's not over yet. Is there an alternate title for this episode? Because I know you watched the other one.
That was the overtime translation.
Alright, simple enough then. So, we begin with the recap of the last episode. Things went well for Kairi, who managed to pull one over on Degranio's right-hand man Destra. For the rest of the Lupin Rangers, not so much. The Pat Rangers blew up Donald far too soon, seemingly destroying the Lupin collection piece in the process. Now, Kairi has entered Bistro Jour just in time to hear the bad news. Naturally, Kairi is infuriated and throttles an unresponsive Tuma. This is the thing I was talking about earlier with Tuma's actor being really good.
Yeah, I've mentioned in the past, Tuma's voice acting is really good because it hides so much emotion behind it. He's very good at like getting rid of all emotion out of his voice and making it sound like it's on purpose. And this is the body acting version of that.
Yeah, he is just so dead inside at the moment.
He doesn't even sit down. He falls down on that chair.
Yep, Umika pulls Kairi off and then Tuma just falls down. Just drops.
It is really well done.
Yep. So Kairi leaves.
And also, I wanted to talk about Kairi's line. I forget how TV Nihon translated it. But Overtime has, one of the things he shouts is, "You told me to leave it to you." And I noticed because that, it hit me in 2 ways. The first being like, I trusted you, this is a betrayal of that trust, you told me you're going to handle it, and you didn't. And the second thing is, I didn't do anything because you told me to leave it to you. If I had done something, then it would have at least been my fault too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think the translation for this one was like, I thought you had it handled or something like that.
Yeah, it's a similar idea. I just like it because it has 2 readings, and like you could read that as Kairi saying something selfish, like, this isn't my fault, this is your fault. Or it could be like, I would have done more if you told me.
Mm-hmm. So...
very complicated character, that Kairi.
So Kairi leaves the restaurant, wandering aimlessly through the night. Coincidentally, Keiichiro is taking a walk as well. He happens to see Kairi looking dejected all on his own, and decides to try and comfort him. Unbeknownst to him, Kairi must hold in his desire to murder a cop on the spot for accidentally ruining his life.
I was going to say, my one note for the scene is Keiichiro brushes with death. Kairi could have thrown him off of that bridge anytime. Or maybe not, maybe it was covered, I can't really remember right now.
I think it was covered, yeah. But Keiichiro persists, wanting to help a citizen in need. And in warning Kairi of potential weirdos who may want to fight at this time of night, he happens to mention a man who is wearing strange clothes and eating ice. Before we cut to the intro, Kairi tells Keiichiro that he's the ice bastard. That might not be the thing you just want to yell in front of the cop, Kairi.
I will point out, I don't know if Overtime has a general no swears policy, but they translate that as ice freak, which is like more palatable to me, but not quite as funny.
Yeah, it is such a weird phrase. Just
like if
ice bastard.
If I paid for these subs, I would expect them to say ice freak.
Yeah.
But because I didn't, I'm not going to rag on ice bastard because it's kind of funny.
Yep. Both nicknames are kind of weird, and the fact that they are nicknames is also really weird, because trust me, Kairi will continually use the phrase ice bastard. But anyway, yeah, after the intro, we're gonna cut away from Kairi, and we don't see Keiichiro's reaction to somebody just saying, "That's the ice bastard." I kind of want to see that, honestly. So the next day, Umika and Tuma have returned to the scene of their last fight. Tuma's given up, but Umika thinks that they may be able to gather up broken bits of the collection piece and glue them back together.
I have in my notes Toma does not move this whole scene, so I imagine Umika just picked him up and carried him with her.
Just like that one freaking 3D animation of the Dio stair scene where he picks
Yes,
up
exactly.
Polnareff and puts him down the stairs.
Honestly, I just like the whole idea of Toma not moving. It doesn't literally mean he doesn't move, but it's important that the audience doesn't see him move because it sells the whole dead inside idea.
Yep. So Umika mentions that since Ghosh usually puts the Ganglars back together and makes them giant, they may be able to do the same thing for the collection piece. But this statement causes Tuma to realize that Ghosh didn't appear after their last fight, and given this is a Sentai show, that's pretty suspicious. He tells Umika that it may not be over yet. Coincidentally, Kairi's thinking the same thing, except he thinks that going after his amigo might be their hope. As it happens, Kairi passes a group of people talking about some weirdo eating ice. Good timing, guys.
I would say, like, oh, what a weird coincidence that they're talking out loud about this person, but that's what we've done every time he's been on screen.
Yep.
Is just talk shit about him once the episode's done.
Just fucking roast him. So yeah, Kairi clearly, he's holding on to the most dangerous hope, because at least Umika and Tuma are like, hey, the collection piece might not have been destroyed. Kairi's is, hey, what if I kill that really powerful Ganglar?
Yeah.
And we'll see how that would go later. We leave Detective Kairi solving a very tricky case, and cut over to Umika, who greets Sakia during his break. Knowing how Sakia works, she asks him about fighting Ganglars. More specifically, she brings up all those times the Ganglars became huge after being defeated. But of course, Rudolph never became big, which Sakia brings up with the rest of the cops in the next scene.
I love Sakia's face when he's explaining that the deer never got big.
I like him just in general, the scene of just like the whole, oh man, I hate it when they turn big, that's real annoying.
He's really personable in this scene, and I kind of like it.
Yep.
I just have the caption for that of, if it isn't my old friend, the dawning realization that I fucked up real bad.
But yeah, that moment of realization is so good.
You just don't hear the Sakia in his head going, oh, no, 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 no,
Hold
no.
on a damn second. So, Tsukasa had already been bothered by the fact that the previous fight hadn't fit the usual pattern, but now the whole team realizes that it's likely that Dancer survived the fight. Back in Hell, Destra and Ghosh are discussing that Donald did indeed survive, thanks to his special ability. Destra apologizes for going behind Degranio's back, but of course, Degranio does not give a shit. If anything, he's more entertained. Degranio takes pretty much anything on his very spiky chin.
He's gonna get his arm cut off later in the show and just be like, what a development I did not see coming.
Oh, you know, I've never been one-armed before. I mean, it closes some doors, but heck, I want to see how this plays out.
Finally, I've hit my weight target. Not the way I was expecting, but, beggars can't be choosers.
Above ground, Kairi has changed into his Phantom Thief disguise and enters an abandoned warehouse. There, he hears the telltale whistle of Zamigo. Kairi calmly confronts him and asks him if he remembers what he did a year ago. Zamigo gives a "for me it was Tuesday" response and laughs hysterically. Kairi draws his gun, but it's only barely out of its holster before his hat is frozen solid. It falls to the floor and shatters. It has been less than a minute of Zamigo getting a proper introduction, and he's already terrifying.
That scene is so good because of just how incredibly sudden it is.
Yep. You just sort of get a sense of where this fight is headed in that single moment of the hat being frozen.
Because normally they would cut to Zamigo, like, pulling out his gun and shooting, but they just cut to they don't cut, they just show the shot.
Yep.
And that makes him even scarier, because even though you might realize, wait, there's no way he possibly went from the position he was in to shooting that quickly, it doesn't matter, because he didn't see it.
Yep. Yeah, it then cuts to the gun after the shot. So Zamigo then shifts into his Ganglar form, before we shift to another scene. A disguised and disgruntled Cupid approaches the warehouse, but is stopped by the cops. He transforms, and the cops Kaisatsu change. Back inside, we get a tense stare down between Kairi and Zamigo. Zamigo forms an ice gun from one of his safes, but then the fight between Dasher and the Pat Rangers moves inside, and also right behind Kairi. As the Pat Rangers take in the scene, Umika and Tuma reveal their positions as well. Everyone stands confused, until Zamigo breaks the silence with laughter. Then Donner gets mad because nobody's paying attention to him, and nothing makes sense, so he tries to zap everybody. Nobody gets hit by it, so I can only assume that this collection power can only kill Podamen.
just DeGranio like, hey guys, let's give this one to the deer. Let's see what he does with it.
It's fucking useless. I'm giving it to him as a prank.
Yeah, we gave him a terrible collection piece on purpose as a joke.
So the Phantom Thieves regroup, and Umika informs Kairi that it's not over yet. But Zamigo moseys on out of the scene, and Kairi opts to continue chasing him alone. Tuma doesn't approve, but Umika decides to give him a chance. The thieves renew their promise, and Kaito change. Zamigo's escape is cut off by gunfire as Red introduces himself. Outside, Blue and Yellow do the same. That's right, the Lupin Rangers are so in sync that they can pose at the same time while in different rooms.
Spatial relation means nothing to the Lupin Rangers posing.
I love that cut so much. It's so good, because they all do their poses in sequence, despite being on separate scenes, and then they have, like, the rooftop cut in, except I think it's only Red who's sort of in the rooftop, but he's, like, in the center of the frame, and then they have cuts to they have cuts to his sides.
Yeah, they have the cut-ins. Also, you missed when we watched the episode, but on the rewatch, did you notice Umika fucking launching Sakia across the screen?
I don't think I saw that, actually. I'll have to
because she has him, like, in her grip when she introduces herself, and then to pose, she needs to be, free from everyone else, so she just hurls him.
How do I keep missing that?
I'll have to show it to you, make sure you see it.
Yep. So, as usual, Zamigo laughs, and his only other response to Lupin Red is, "Nice joke," in English. That's how you know he's serious. Outside, Dancer reveals his natural power. He is able to split into multiple forms. He'd used it the other day to separate into two, leaving his clone to die and escaping under the cover of the explosion. The Pat Rangers are unfazed and move in to beat Cupid with clubs. It is pretty much just, hey, I've got this power, and then Ichigo's like, okay, we'll just kill the original. Fuck him up.
We have more patience than you have clones.
Blue thinks fast and grapples Donner just as he splits. This keeps him in one form, allowing Yellow to move in and open the safe. 3 8s. But the Pat Rangers, still impatient motherfuckers for this specific Ganglar, rush in and use No! Absolute Slash, the special move named specifically as a response to someone trying to do anything else to the same target. You are so rude, Pat Rangers. Anyway.
I don't know why they made this particular Ganglar so stressful when it came to the collection piece.
Anyway, all three move in and beat on poor Rudolph until he explodes. Blue looks at the safe, worried that the collection piece was gone for real this time. But he looks over to Yellow, who'd managed to retrieve the piece before the cops ruined everything a second time. The Pat Rangers seem ready to shift targets, but of course, Gauche arrives to do her thing. As Comet gets big, Red finds himself in a deadly fight. Although Zamigo has to create new guns every time he fires, it does nothing to slow his rate of fire. And of course, if he gets in a single hit, Red will die. Red mostly remains on the defensive, but he does manage to grapple Zamigo and throw him out of the building. Then Zamigo wiggles in such a way that throws Red out as well. Kind of evened out there in the end. Now prone, Red is nearly killed as a shot hits his cape. Thinking quickly, Red shoots the frozen parts of his cape off, but has to do a flip in order to do so. Said flip puts him in an even more vulnerable position as the frozen parts of his cape hit the ground and shatter. Again, Zamigo laughs, trains 2 guns on Red, and fires. In a moment of desperation, Red throws scissors into his Versus Changer, activating its Kaito boost. The wall of ice created after impact is shattered by a boomerang, which returns to Red's hands after the ice is cleared. In his other hand is a shield, which Red is surprised deflected the attack. No, seriously, yeah, Red was just completely surprised that worked.
Always a nice surprise when you don't die.
Red throws his boomerang, which Zamigo dodges. However, his secret weakness is revealed. Zamigo has no clue how boomerangs work. He gets ready to taunt Red, only to narrowly avoid getting hit by the boomerang as it returns. And since Zamigo has no idea how boomerangs work normally, he's completely unprepared for it to defy the laws of physics and come in for a third strike. One of his tentacles is removed, and for a moment he's surprised. But it's Zamigo, so he just laughs it off as the tentacle reforms immediately. Zamigo then gives Red his full name, Zamigo Derma, and fires once more to cover his escape, telling Red that he'll remember him. The other Lupin Rangers rush in, and Red regretfully informs the other 2 that the ice bastard got away. But Blue and Yellow try to cheer him up, though their moment can't last long. The 3 of them return to the other side of the warehouse, where Big Blitzen's rampage is visible. Good Striker wanders in and tells Red that he was watching the fight with Zamigo. Red wastes no time shoving him into the Versus Changer, and they form the Lupin Kaiser. In response, Big Blitzen splits into 100 separate but equally big forms. Without even bothering to fight a losing battle, the Lupin Rangers equip the Scissors vehicle, which gives the Lupin Kaiser a night form. Now it's the Lupin Kaiser with a sword and shield, and I can just hear 13-year-old me calling this the coolest toy.
I want to point out, Goody is talking about Scissors and Blade as if they're sentient creatures, but they're not.
He is just so happy to be using the Scissors and Blade.
Goody has this really weird relationship with the rest of the collection, where he doesn't seem to recognize they're not all like him.
They're still his siblings, and he loves them. So, the Lupin Kaiser gets to work and slashes away at all the other reindeer. Much to Big Blitzen's ire, the rest of his clones decide to leap back into him out of fear, which only gives the Lupin Kaiser an opportunity for their finisher attack. The Lupin Kaiser activates the Good Striker hacking slash, tearing through every single deer down the line. With their job done, the Lupin Rangers disperse and return to Bistro Juror. Kogure places the battery collection piece into his book and gives the thieves permission to use their new vehicles. How nice. Before he leaves, Umika tries to tell him about Zamigo, but the other 2 stop her. Kairi and Tuma figure that Zamigo might be another way to bring back their loved ones without having to rely on Kogure. But that means the Lupin Rangers couldn't possibly find Kogure suspicious in any way, could they? No, impossible. Kogure's been nothing but trustworthy. But anyway, Kaiichiro enters the restaurant on his own. Kairi asks Kaiichiro if he came in to check on him, but Kaiichiro denies it. Kairi then refers to Kaiichiro as Kei-chan, and it takes a moment for Kaiichiro to remember what that honorific means. The episode closes out with the Juror trio savagely fucking with Kaiichiro. Now, I believe you have something to add from the other translation, don't you?
Yeah, this clinches Overtime's position as the better translation. Sorry, TV Nihon. Overtime does its best to scrub Japanese honorifics from their translations, and as a result, Kei-chan became K-Man. I forget the exact line, but at some point Kairi says, make sure the K-Man gets his coffee. And the reason this is a great translation is because even if I knew nothing about honorifics, I would get the exact same information that I would if I did know honorifics and they used Chan.
Mm-hmm.
He's being way too friendly in a way that's kind of insulting.
Especially to an officer.
Yes. The K-Man is such a good nickname for Keiichiro.
It works so well because he'd hate that nickname too.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's the episode.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I believe
Pretty
we
good
usually...
episode.
Yep, I believe we usually start with the Ganglar talk, but we have two Ganglars to talk about. I don't think I had much to say about Bletzel or whatever his actual name is in the last episode,
Yeah,
but
Blitz Anishka.
definitely this time around. I know I predicted that he would have been brought back somehow. Have to admit, didn't see this one coming, because I didn't realize that he had an unseen power. Because previous Ganglars have had, like, natural powers that were basically just has a weapon, and I figured that's what the case was here, because he has weapons.
But no, he bought those weapons.
He bought them with his own money.
The true plot twist.
But yeah, he had an extra power, or, well, a power, that was completely unseen in the last one.
I guess I can talk about his collection piece.
Ah,
It
yes,
is,
the battery.
L'Orage Électrique, which is the electric storm, which is apparently a reference to a U2 song.
Mm-hmm.
Not super familiar with U2.
Yeah, like most people, I just scrambled to remove their songs from my playlist when they forced them on everyone.
I forgot about that. What the hell even was that? Why did they do that?
I don't know. Apple briefly wanted to try to torture everyone. Then they just decided, oh wait, capitalism, and we'll just fuck up everything with that. But anyway, yeah, the battery itself, not an interesting power until I realized that it was so completely useless that it sort of turned around into being hilarious. Because legitimately, I don't think it ever really does much of anything outside of kill Potamen. Like, in the previous episode, I think it dispersed everyone once. That's the most it ever did. But otherwise, yeah, it was just a team-killing thing.
Machine designed for killing Potamen and Potamen only. You couldn't kill a goldfish with this thing.
Unless the goldfish was a Potaman.
Unless, yeah.
And now I'm picturing a goldfish just as a Potaman, and it is great. But we have
But
another
you are
Ganglar.
right. We have a second Ganglar.
Yep, and it's Amigo. So we have the right and left hands of Degranio, and they're threatening in their own right, but now we have a Ganglar who is very clearly another major one, and now he's probably the most terrifying that we've seen.
Yeah, he's had the most on-screen carnage.
Yep. Even more than Destra.
Yeah, Daestra has an intimidating presence, but he's not really killed anyone on screen.
He has blown stuff up at least.
Gauche's attitude is intimidating in its own right, but Zamigo is a mass murderer several times over.
Yeah, and he kind of takes both of their aspects. Like, he's as destructive as, well, maybe not as destructive as Destra to the same extent, but in a similar fashion, he shoots everywhere, lots of stuff gets frozen, and it's not good for anyone. Meanwhile, he also has the does not give a shit about anything attitude that Gauche has.
Yeah, he whistles his own damn theme music.
Yep, he laughs at everything, even more than Gauche does. And yeah,
Gauche has like an almost reflexive giggling. Like, I don't know if you've met any like nervous laughers. Some people just giggle to everything and don't even mean anything by it.
yeah, I do that sometimes as well.
Yeah, I do it occasionally, but not enough to be like a super big problem.
Yeah.
But Zamigo is just like full on belly laughing at everything. He is having the time of his life.
Yep. And of course, while Destra was terrifying because of his destructive power, Zamiga can just kill a person. If he just shoots you once, you die. And, you know, a lot of the show involves the main characters dodging everything, but they still get nicked from time to time. You don't have that liberty against Amiga.
So pretty good establishing, not quite establishing scene, but good way of establishing Zamigo as a threat in this way.
Yeah, he's had several establishing moments, but this one still manages to stand out. Just that intro scene is so good.
Yeah, that's enough about the Ganglars. So now we normally move into dissecting the character development. So we got to see a lot of low points today, and I figured we may as well start with those. Now let's start with Kyrie's reaction, because I think he might change the most.
Yeah.
Because he goes from being fairly carefree and not unaffected, but, very disconnected. He usually makes jokes and things like that, to just being absolutely furious.
Yeah, he was scary angry at the start of this episode.
I was only partially joking about Keiichiro brushing with death.
Yeah.
Kyrie was 100% in the mood to kill him. I think he just decided, no, it's not worth it.
Yeah. He did say something along the lines of, I don't want to see you, or something like that.
Yeah, I don't even want to look at your face right now.
Yep.
Keiichiro took that in stride, all things considered.
He then managed to say that it wasn't his fault that he was in that mood, and we know that's a lie.
Oh, yeah.
He is precisely the cause of it. I'm impressed Kyrie did not just blurt out, fuck you destroyed the Lupin collection piece.
Just spill everything. 2 episodes ago, we had a whole episode about protecting their identities, and Kyrie just lets it all come out because he got mad.
Yeah, I think it also contrasts well with Keiichiro's anger, because a few episodes ago, Keiichiro was angry, but it was a lot more self-loathing.
Yeah, he was also more functional while he was mad.
Yeah, because he was able to still, ask Tsukasa, hey, why'd you slap me?
Yeah, he ruined taking down that one Ganglar, but he was still able to fight the Ganglar. He was still able to show up to work. He didn't try to kill Sakia.
Yep.
Or something like that. But moving down the list, Toma might have the most extreme reaction.
Yeah.
But I feel like it's really interesting to see and watch, and I'm sure it was cool to do, but it doesn't give me a whole lot to talk about because, yeah, he just stopped.
Yep.
He just stopped dead in his tracks.
I mean, it makes sense since the person he lost was his fiancée, but yeah, it's kind of self-explanatory, isn't it?
Yeah, it's sold through the physical acting, which I can't reproduce for you in an audio medium.
Just watch the beginning of the episode with Tuma just being completely dead inside.
But I really liked Umiko's reaction because despite being the most childish character and the one designed to appeal to children, she has the most adult response. Yeah, she cries a lot, she's very clearly upset, and then the next day she's out there trying to fix it.
Yep. And also she prevents Kyrie from just killing Tuma.
Yes. She saves Toma's life, not that I think he wanted to be saved at that point.
Take my life now, it doesn't matter.
Cut my life into pieces. God, what if Toma just started listening to emo music throughout the episode?
Honestly, I'm surprised he doesn't already.
He has too much hope for that at this point. But besides them, I also wanted to talk about Keiichiro. We've touched on it a lot, but I appreciate how far he's willing to go out of his way to help Kyrie in this episode.
Yep, he just sees him out there alone and sad in the night. It's just like, I can't let that happen. Quit being sad, have a coffee.
This guy works at the restaurant I like going to. Clearly I have a duty to help this person. It would be interesting to see Keiichiro do this with just random civilians he sees on his nightly walks, but I can understand why they wouldn't want to show that. That would take a lot of time.
Yep. He will help anyone unless they dress weird and eat ice, in which case, you're too far gone.
Understandable.
Can't help that person anymore. Not even God can.
I also think it's interesting because he does something I normally find annoying, in that when Kyrie tells him to back off, Keiichiro does not.
Mm-hmm.
But it manages to not really get on my nerves in this scene. I'm not 100% sure why.
He's not super pushy about it. I think part of it is he doesn't really raise his voice or anything or try to overpower Kyrie. He just continues being like, hey, don't get yourself hurt. It's the dead of night.
He also, I feel like he's not trying to make it Kyrie's fault.
Nope.
He does say if you walk around with your face looking like that, somebody's going to pick a fight, but it's not in a way that's So you better stop that. It's more like,
Yeah.
this is why I'm worried. Get into a fight, you better at least be prepared for that fight.
Look, I'll give you a knife or something. Come on, just don't get yourself hurt.
Here, I took this off of the last person I arrested, just hands him brass knuckles. I'll make sure I don't get those back. But I do think it's important to establish how much Keiichiro wants to protect the people of Japan.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if they mentioned the name of the city they're in.
Because
clearly he's just limited to the one city, but
yeah. You know,
it's obvious that he wants to actually protect them. We talked, Sakia had his little moment that was fun.
Yeah.
Tsukasa had even less, but I liked it. It's just, yeah, of course Tsukasa already thought of that.
Yep.
Sakia had to have it pointed out to him by somebody else. And Tsukasa's like, yeah, that was weird, wasn't it?
I would like to point out that when I said that Umika uses Sakia, it's not that bad. It wasn't like super manipulative or anything. She just asked about the big Ganglar to confirm a thing. And also,
yeah, not this time.
Probably to get the Pat Rangers at the right place at the right time. The first time, yeah, sure, she brought him to a restaurant for a similar purpose.
To potentially get him murdered. Hey, this mass murderer is targeting restaurants. Here, come to this restaurant.
He was gonna be fine. If he wasn't, who would she have hurricaned?
Never gonna get over that scene. That scene rules.
You need to live so I can fucking own you.
You didn't even pay for the meal! This episode was just really enjoyable and entertaining overall. Not sure what is left for me to really pick apart.
Yeah, I don't think I have any predictions either. Trying to think if I thought of anything, but I don't think so.
Yeah, and I didn't pick up on any, like, weird themes or anything like that wasn't made obvious by the text.
Yeah, like this is...
It's not that Sentai doesn't have subtext, it's just it doesn't always have subtext because it doesn't need it.
Yeah, this episode
it's very over the top.
Mostly just about the... it was mostly about the Lupin Rangers sort of regrouping themselves. After a nearly catastrophic failure, they bring themselves back and renew their promise.
Yeah, they wanted to show the Lupins at a, not necessarily the lowest point, but at a very low point. To get certain characterization out of them. And it worked.
Yep.
Something that I think would have been interesting is if they showed, well, maybe it would have been interesting, but it's neat to think about just how unaffected the police were.
Yeah, they did not care.
Keiichiro did his normal night patrol. Sakia was just going home from work. He didn't really care. It wasn't even a big thing, like, we finally got one before the Lupin Rangers did their thing, whatever that is. These don't even seem to realize that that's an important part.
Yeah, like, they continued not caring in this episode. They were just super aggro for some reason. And yeah, their whole big thing was like, oh, the Gangler actually survived. That's weird.
I guess one thing I will ask about, it's just, a surface level thing. What do you think of Scissors and Blade?
They're kind of neat, but they look a little weird. The boomerang especially is just gigantic. As a prop that's supposed to be wielded in the way that Red wields it, it looks a little bit awkward. The shield's fine. And I do just love the fact that, like, Red didn't even know if they would save his life in that moment. He just tried.
Yep. And just, well, what have I got to lose?
Yep. And it happened to be a shield.
We didn't really talk about them in their single Zord form. I do like that it's two Zords in one.
Yeah, that is
at least, it detaches for the Kaito boost. It had some interesting things in a single Zord fight where it cut the golem in half from either side.
Yep.
It's a neat vehicle.
And it's a sword and shield for the Lupin Kaiser, so, that's also cool.
Yep, the single coolest armament in history.
Sword.
Sword and shield.
I guess in terms of predictions, like the closest thing I can think of is I thought it's kind of interesting that the Lupin Rangers think that Zamigo is a possible link to fulfilling their wish. I don't
Yeah.
know why they think that, and I don't really know how it's going to go from there, but
So, I have to be careful, because I might imply more than I mean to, but I should clarify. I don't know what this means exactly either, but I think what they're trying to say is that that really was a disappearance. I don't think they think of them, for one reason or another, they don't seem to think of them as dead. They seem to think Zamigo just has them, but they clearly shattered.
yeah.
So I have no idea what is going on with that part of the plot.
Yeah, but it is also interesting to see that there's a little mistrust for Kogure there. Which is
Finally.
completely understandable, but yeah. Again, I don't know.
Yeah, it's about time they cottoned on to this.
Yeah. I don't know where they'll go from here, so it's not really a prediction, but I figured that's a plot point that's probably going to expand a little over time in the short term. Well, long term overall, I think it's going to be a pretty huge thing, but if not next episode, they'll probably start getting into it a bit more within the next few episodes.
More shortly. Alright. That's enough about episode 10. If you want to send us an email, we are LupinRecap@gmail.com. Our Twitter is @LRVSPR. Fefner's Twitter is still @FefnerMasamune. With that, we will see you in the next episode. Adieu.
Adieu.